Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to remove the 2182 transmission. Wasn't going to do it on film, but it's really not a big deal. The hardest portion of it is getting them cotter pins out in this area right here on the rod that activates the brake. We're going to take the rear cover off first, and then we're going to take the control rods off, then take that one that goes to the brake off. Then we're going to go to the hydraulics here, and then we're going to remove it. Now, when you remove it, you want to make sure that you have the wires tucked off to the side. You don't want to destroy your wiring harness, because when you reassemble it, that'll make it really difficult. The dry shaft on a Cyclops, that's going to pull right out of the front CV joint coupling in the front and the back of the motor there. So it's a lot easier. It's not like the 82 series, you have to disconnect them. So we're going to take this rear cover off first. That is one of your main supports of your frame right there to keep them so, because these frames, they flex a lot on a Super, especially if you have a Haven deck on them. Now, the reason I use such a long extension is because of the brakes in that one bolt right there on both sides. So we're going to move the camera, and we're going to unhook right there. That's the control rod that activates the transmission on the cams. Takes a 7/16 and ½ inch to do it. I'm going to use a ratchet wrench. They're fine thread. So it'll take a second to do it. We're going to activate the transmission in full forward, and then that'll pull right out. If we can, we're going to flip this all the way backwards. And the reason why is so when we're taking it out, we won't have any difficulties of it catching in this the gauge here that tells you how high your deck is, your hydraulics. The next thing I'm going to do is take them cotter pins out. This will be the toughest job, because I surely don't want to break. Let's see if we can get the bottom one off first. Take a hammer. I'm going to put it in from this way and take a hammer. Okay, the top ones, or the bottom one's out. Now if I can get this one. When I put these back together, I use a quick pin on them. And if you ever have to dismantle the transmission again, it makes it a lot easier. When I do the video on installing it, you'll see how I do it to make it real simple. Cotter pin was just a little bit cheaper. That's why they used them. It's so tight down in that area right there. I can't even see the head of it. That's why I can't. see if I can get a pair of pliers down in there to get it. And I can't. Let's see if we can move this rod here and turn it just a tad. Don't want to break that cross lever there, because they're quite a job to there. Now I'm going to move that. I'm going to flip that up like that, and I'm going to see if I can get it so I can have the head on the top side. And I hit the and I believe I have it. Let's see if I can get the washer off, and I do. Like I said, this is going to be the toughest portion. You have to take this control rod. The spring just fell out for the pedal. Not exactly sure where that went, but that's the lever you have to get out. Now we're going to flip that one up just like so. This is the most difficult portion. Now we're going to get to the hydraulics. I apologize, it took a little longer than normal. Like I said, when you put them back together, you just use a quick pin, and makes it a lot easier. It takes 11/16 for the hydraulics. Now, one thing I need to do is get something for the oil to drain into, so we don't have a big mess. Even though I'm not going to use this transmission, I have to flush out this whole system. It's probably going to be very milky oil coming out when I take the axle bolts out. Somebody put elastic tape on these. They don't need it, they're JIC. Right there's all the elastic tape on it. Right there you can see the milky oil right there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, I'll make sure in the view there, we're going to unhook the brakes on both sides right there. I'll do the other side. Just going to push them down. Now you have 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to leave these front brackets in first, or leave them in. We're going to take these bolts out first, and the reason why is it'll make these bolts slide kind of out of the axle housing a lot easier. We'll see how loose or hard these are to come out. Sometimes you're going to bust them bolts off in there. They're not one of the easiest bolts to remove because they're steel going into aluminum. Now, if you don't have them extreme braces on there, I did get an email yesterday from a gentleman. I've never put them on before. I've had machines that came in with them. But I use a Haven deck. I have quite a few Super Cubs, and I just tighten them up every month or so, and I haven't had an issue. That's one thing on these. They need a little bit of maintenance on these machines. You can see the milky oil coming out right there. After I get these bolts off on the axle, I'm going to put a floor jack underneath it, and we're going to remove this transmission. We'll slide it right from underneath there. After you do a few of these, I enjoy changing the transmission on one of these machines. I really do. I think it's a lot of fun. What a challenging job. I even like dividing the hydrostats from the housing and changing the gasket. I'd much rather do that all day than I would change motors. And to most people, probably the motor's easier. The transmissions, I just believe, are a lot of fun. I've always thought about making a stand, like a transmission stand, to put these in and out so they adjusted, but I never have. You probably are going to have a mess doing this job. They're tough not to have a mess when you're doing them. These are 3/8 bolts. I have a feeling it had so much moisture in it that it's hurt the hydrostat internally, but it does not squeal or make any unusual noises. Like I said in the video when I took the fenders off, the hydraulics, which the hydraulics would take priority, I believe, because they come right out of the pump. But the hydraulics went up and down in this machine. I've never mowed or anything with this machine whatsoever. This machine came in as a basket case. Keep your bolts right handy. The next thing we're going to do, and this is where the mess comes in, we're going to slide that over like this, because you're going to have a mess. And we're going to put the floor jack underneath it. We're going to slide it in just about right there. And we're going to take the side bolts off next. I'll make sure you're right in a view of them so you can see them come off. Now, a lot of times when you do this, you're going to find out that your housing's cracked and it's going to drop the front portion of the transmission brackets right off in them because they're so noted to be broken off, and I'll show you them ears when we take it off. If you have a regular spread frame, this is only going to have one bolt. Supers have two. It will not drop out of the frame because the frame has a hook port angle on it, just like this. So you got to slide them back just a little ways before, so they just won't fall right out of the frame. Go to the other side. So we're all loose now, and we have our bolts and the axle housing right close. So as soon as I get it dropped down, I'm going to put them bolts in just so I minimize the mess on the floor. I'm going to slide that up just a tad, jack that back up. Now, like I told you before, just watch your wiring when you're taking them out. Actually, we're going to slide it down just a tad. Because it's close in that area, right in this area right here. I'll show you them bolts. We're gonna put these bolts right back in this axle housing. Now this transmission here, I will never put in another machine. I'll take these 30mm axles out and they'll go into some garden tractor puller's machine. I'll show you a couple things before we end this video. You're going to have a mess. It's just one thing you're going to have to do. When I reassemble it, I don't know if I'm going to put the dry shaft on afterwards or just slide it right in, because one thing nice like you see right there, they just slide right out. And this is the bottom ears that you see a lot on these Supers that are broke. So it's a real easy job. Don't sweat it. Appreciate you watching Land Cadet, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I hope you like it unedited, and we'll see you on the next video.